once again, like obviously over the years, you go into all of these different places, clubs, festivals, and whatnot. The next word here is temptation, right? And I could imagine people can say temptation when it comes to women, drugs, whatsoever. You got what I'm trying to say? Like for you to have 20 years in this industry, surely you're doing something, and surely you must have found a way to avoid certain temptations or certain things, because like I said, there's different drugs within, obviously, like the festivals and all of these things, like I said, different distractions, whatever people want to call it, but there's different temptations. How have you been able to avoid, or even if you indulged in some, but to get yourself out of it to a point where it doesn't fuck up your journey and you can keep on, moving forward?
Well, I've definitely indulged and I've definitely fucked up, man. 100%.
I love your honesty.
Yeah, I got to be honest, man. There's no point. Who am I lying to apart from myself?
Yeah.
Especially the partying side of things, like that's been something that's been, because going out at the parties was what I started doing, being the party goer. And like I said, I felt like I just take a couple of steps back onto the stage. That's all I've done. So partying is very much a big part of the lifestyle, and from the crowd's perspective, that's all it is about. The parties I play at, everyone's there to let loose, to get away from their weekday troubles and get mash up, man. Not everybody, there's a lot of people that are just there for the music, and I can have a few drinks and have a great time, and I can do it sober and have a great time. The keyboard is balance, and there's a lot of times in my life where that balance has definitely slipped, and it led to some difficult times, like the intense touring and constantly, there was. I thought I had a real problem with alcohol at one point, and I spoke to a friend of mine who went to Alcoholics Anonymous, and I was like, "Am I an alcoholic?" Because the thing was, like, I only drank at the weekend, and I'm like, that I don't think that means that I'm not an alcoholic, like, because like I have to drink. I felt like I had to drink every weekend, because you get a technical rider, which is the decks and the equipment and everything you have to use. It's on your contract. But you also get a hospitality rider. And although, I have alcohol on my hospitality rider, and it seems like DJing is like one of the few jobs where it's literally part of the remit to get pissed when you're working, Like, what other job can you walk in and you go, give me a bottle of whiskey before I start my work, There's not many other jobs that you do that. I was talking to a friend about it the other day, I'm like, what other job does that happen? Like, zero, I don't think. Like,
it's true, when you think about it now, I'm thinking, there's not many jobs.
Yeah, not many jobs. Yeah. Yeah, but that's again where the practice and the preparation comes in. Like, I mean, I've done sets that are very dubious where I've been a right old mess, but I'll still manage to, like, crawl my way through it. I guess one of the not good things, is probably a bad thing to be honest. One of the things that's let me get away with that over the years is like the crowd's on the same level as me, so they're just like, oh, he's having a party too. So yeah, it can be. It can definitely. There's a lot of pitfalls for that, and I've fell into, those potholes plenty of times, and that's led to issues with mental health and everything else, and it's going to happen. It happened before I got into the DJing. It's happened during it. I'm kind of fortunate at this part of my life that I can still cut loose sometimes and have some fun, but I've taken on responsibilities, like working at school now and stuff. I have to be fresh and ready on a Monday when I've got a class full of students, and I'm also doing, I'm the lead tutor now as well. So I'm doing all the admin side of stuff. I'm like dealing with the Mayor of London's office, the college, the DWP, the school. I've got all these like legit, people that I'm having to deal with on a bureaucratic level that I can't be turning up to work on a Monday like, woo, what's going on? I have to be on the ball. So it's definitely good in that respect. The job itself and the teaching side of things, and giving back to people and all the stuff that I've learned over the years is hugely rewarding. There is a financial reward, of course, but most of it is just a personal reward and seeing people get ahead, and that's such a fulfilling experience. But also, like, that responsibility of that is taking away the temptations from the party side of the lifestyle as well, because I'm like, I have to be I have to be on the ball with that. In terms of the other side, like, my fiance, like, she's the most spectacular woman in the world, so like, I can't shoot any higher, man. I'd be like, yeah, I'd be punching down if I tried anything else. So that's an easy one, man.
Yeah. Nah, Jerry, I just want to say big up your woman, because people usually say, and I'm sure you've heard of this like a million times over the years, that behind every great man there's a great woman, right? And it's like sometimes I feel like sometimes some people, from just speaking about from where we come from, where I come from, like, you know, how I've grown up, people that I've grown up with, you know, being players, this and that, cheating on that woman or whatever. Sometimes it's like, nah, like have your time, and then once you're ready to settle down, once you get like a good woman, find a way to say fuck all of that. Let me focus on what I'm doing, and let me be faithful to my woman, because that's really, really important, especially like the more you get up and in terms of like things that you're trying to do, you get me? Because it's like sometimes imagine trying to do whatever you're doing, but on this side you've got these issues with your wife or all of, you know, like all of this noise. So it's like, nah, man, like big yourself up, and once again big up your woman, you know, for being by your side and helping.
She's put up well. I just want to say, like, she's put up a lot. An absolute saint, and it is important to have that support. You know, whether it's a partner or friends or whatever. Like if you don't have that, like from all the different partners, you know, people I've been with throughout my life, you know, she's the one who, like, she supported everything I'd done from day dot. She understood my job and understood how much time it took, and has been like super patient throughout that whole process. And also just like, you know, you're talking about like, you know, doing this and doing that, man. It's like, it's just too much to deal with, man. You know what I mean? Like, as well, like, you know, I'm devoted to this woman, full stop. But also, like, you know, you've got too much else going on in your life. Like, why do you want to mess around with all this bullshit? It's just again, it's you know, all these things, these mantras and stuff that I'm starting to bring into my life: love, forgiveness, gratitude, empathy, patience, calm. You know, another one that goes off every morning is manifest. Success is my only option. That goes off every day. I read that every day. And again, it's like, that's something I've, like, it's been a mindset since day one, but I still remind myself of it, because sometimes I'm sitting, and what I do with that alarm when it goes off is I'll just snooze it for an hour. Because, you know, I was talking to the class today about procrastination. I was like, who procrastinates? And like, his hands are starting to slowly go up, and I'm like, my hands straight away. I'm like, I procrastinate all the time. Like, for instance, I could be working on a track that I know is great. I know what I've got to do with it. It's, you know, there's maybe a deadline on it, and I'm like, that's just sitting there waiting to get worked on, and I'll go hoover the house, and I never hoover. You know, I end up doing housework, which I'm, you know, Mrs. is like, why don't you ever clean up? And then this has been a clean up when I've got something important to do, you know. So procrastination is a key thing, but that alarm is going to go off every hour. It's going to remind me, stop messing around, get on with your stuff, and that world's not going to take over itself, you know.
Yeah. And even just in general, like, you know, mental health check, right? You know, a lot of people, I don't know why, to be fair, but a lot of people say, when, obviously scientifically, like, I've done some research, it's got its truths within it, in terms of like, there's more people suffering from mental health issues through obviously winter because the weather is shit, all of this nonsense. But even just in general, you know, I've got one of my good friends, his name is Shoka, you know, he's a mental health advocate. You know, he's gone through, you know, his mental health journey, and he's on the other side. He's even written a book about it. Oh, wow. He goes around different places, just, you know, speaking about mental health and raising more awareness. So, like, after having a few private conversations with him, like, you know, I made a promise that, like, everybody that comes on this chair, you know, besides everything we speak about, we're gonna have like a mental health check-in. And obviously, for me, I could only ask the people the question, and it's up to the person on the red chair either how open they want to be, or how much bullshit they want to tell us. It's completely, you know what I'm trying to say? You know, like, we're all human, it's completely up to them, innit? But for me, as long as I feel like it's important, as long as genuinely, like, I've asked you the question, then it's really up to you, innit? So, so Joey, like, how is your mental health, like, right now? Like, how is your mental health state?
It's pretty okay just now, but it's been topsy-turvy. You know, I think it's important to be honest in these types of discussions, because you hold yourself accountable, especially when you're doing it in a public forum. And I think also, you mentioned this before about like when people watch these kind of things and see that people are talking about it openly, like, you can tell straight away when someone's full of shit, you know, and they're just like, yeah, everything's cool, man, you know, I don't have mental health, you know, I'm a bad man and all that. Like, you can see through it. People don't buy it, man, and, you know, people are smart and you give them credit for. So, you know, be accountable, be honest, and also like it's cathartic, and it's like you talked about therapy. This is therapy for me, you know. Like that, I do like these interviews can be uncomfortable sometimes when you get asked probing questions.
Exactly.
But like taking yourself out your comfort zones, whether it's professionally or you know in a mental health capacity or anything, is an important thing to do, because if you don't like you know check up on yourself or be checked up on like this, then you know you that just like I say, that just gets bottled down and it manifests in ways where that you don't expect, where you could you know be horrible to somebody that you care about, or you know just you know there's lots of ways that can surface through anger, sadness, you know, depression, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, things have not been far from rosy. You know, I did allude to this earlier in the conversation. You know, when we first met, you know, last year, and we were doing the college, things were going great, and you know, I was working with an agency, and you know, I had a manager and all this kind of stuff, and things seemed to be going really great, and I had a big tour planned where I was going to be doing Asia and I was going to be doing Australia in the new year, and I pretty much cancelled any other work that I was doing and focused completely on the tour, and there was a lot of money involved as well. One gig, it was the kind of linchpin of the whole tour, that didn't happen, and so the rest of the tour kind of fell apart, and then the Australia thing pulled as well, and it went from me like coming into the new year like full of this, because when I met you I was like really super motivated. I mean, you can attest to that, how I was, you know,
the energies were incredible.
And it was genuine. But in the January we done the school, and I felt like a fraud because I had the rug pulled under my feet professionally. And it was nobody's. In retrospect, I was blaming a lot of people for, you didn't do this, you didn't that. You know, I've got managers, agents, everything else, and you're always looking for somebody else to blame, and never like pointing the, you know, look in the mirror and pointing a finger at yourself. And you know, there was plenty of things that I didn't do right to make that come to fruition as well. But for whatever reason, it didn't work out. So you know, I felt like my career was falling apart. That affected my mental health. Affected my, you know, belief in myself. All the things that I'd felt over the years that were my strong points all disappeared. You know, when you think as you get older and wiser, and the more you go through this adversity, the easier it gets to deal with it. It's felt like it was one of the hardest times to get over it, and I pretty much resigned myself to the fact that I was going to quit music again. You know, I was like, this is one of the many times where I'm like, right, I'm done with this. But I was moving into this teaching space, and I was really enjoying that, and I'm like, I'm good at this, and I like it, and I'm not getting any younger. Like, why do I need to keep doing this? I don't need to keep doing this, and like, just for what? Why would I keep doing this just to get people letting me down, and you know, and losing out in like money, and losing out in, you know, opportunity, and like I'm, you know, making this music that I'm really excited about, and I don't get the chance to, you know, show it to the world. So that was really demoralising. And it was actually someone at the college, I can't remember who it was, but if you're watching this and you remember who you are, I want to say big love to you. There was a student who came up to me and said, like, Joey, how long have you been doing this for? And I was like, since the 90s. And he went, no, I meant professionally. And I was like, oh, right. I was like, well, I quit my last job in 2004. And they were like, oh, that's 20 years ago. And I was like, I hadn't even thought about that once.
Wow.
Because everything that had been going on in terms of my career, I was working at school, there was the big tour coming up, all this other stuff. I hadn't even stopped to think how long I'd been doing this for. And it took just one student saying, you know, how long have you been doing this? And then I kind of clocked it, and I was like, shit, it's 20 years.
That's actually... And
I'm like, wow, I'm ready to quit here.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, 20 years. I'm like, and I'm standing here, like, for nearly 2 months, I was in a huff. I was in a mood. I was vexed with the world. I'm like, yeah, screw this. I'm done. And then, like, you know, one of the many times where I had to give myself a severe talking to and go, like, what? You know, it was one of my friends who I pulled in to do, like, come out of retirement to do my gig with me, because the gig what I decided to do was, like, I'm going to put a on show. Like, if like I'm not getting booked to these shows overseas, you know, but for whatever reason it all fell apart. I'm like, I've been promoting since I was 15. I'm like, I'm going to put a on show. I'm going to celebrate 20 years in the game, and I got all the artists I'd worked with over the years. You know, and my dream lineup with that would be, I managed to get them all to play. They all done me like huge favours, like literally just, you know, they all came just for the night, for the fun of it.
Now big yourself up,
man, and that was just a beautiful experience to get to like sit and go over like 20 years. I mean, just doing the 3 days of preparing the music for that. You know, it's thousands of tracks that I've made over the years. You know, it could be 2,000 or 3,000. And I had to like go through all these old hard drives, and I was finding music, and I was like, oh man, I forgot about this tune. And I'm like trying to go through these different, you know, it's like 6 hours of music that I had to kind of get pulled together. You know, 5 in total. We had my missus was actually support DJing that night as well. But five hours of DJing all back to back with different people. So I was playing the whole night, and I whittled it down to 40 hours of music, and then the day of the event, I whittled it down to 20 hours of music, and I'm like, right, and now I need to play on the night and play 5 hours. So, and it was what a process indeed, because that I went through a roller coaster of emotions. It was like tracks I was playing like through the speakers. I'm like sitting up late at night going through this music, and you know, it was like I was, you know, feeling the pain of all the stuff that had happened, you know, throughout my life, and then also like the music was reminding me of certain points in my career. It was taking me back to these, you know, specific points, like when I made the track, who I made it with, the events that I played it there, and I spent like, you know, maybe 6 or 7 hours like in tears of joy and sadness and happiness, just like going through this journey of like, man, I'd done all this, and the people that I did do it with, that made it so special, that all came and played on that night, and every one of you guys, I fucking love you. So and more recently things have been, you know, mental health check as well, they go up and down, man. I think, you know, physiologically as I get older, you know, I went to doctors, like, I don't feel right. I had a chest infection from like August, I think I picked up at Creamfields, and I've not been feeling well, and I've not been able to go to the gym and stuff like that. So you know, I started to like put on some weight again. I know I'm no skinny guy, but I was like putting on more weight again. I was like in the best shape of my life in July, and then like we get through to September, October, and I'm feeling terrible. You know, I'm eating crap again. I'm like, I can't exercise because every time I do I was coughing. I go to the doctor, and I'm like, to the doctor, I'm saying, look, something's not right here, you know. I got blood work done and everything, and they suggested put me on antidepressants. I was like, can you not address the actual problems here? Like, number one, I've got a chest infection that I can't shift. Number two, I can't exercise because of that chest infection, and I know that when I exercise regularly, that takes away a lot of the mental health problems. I feel I can't be inside my own head, like, you know, having these made up anxieties and thinking, you know, what ifs and all this kind of stuff. Because you think about it, man, like I always say, like, for instance, I do a lot of spin classes and, you know, do weights and stuff like that, but spinning was something I loved, because you can really exhaust yourself. I always feel like once you're really exhausted, if you've done something that's like super intense physical, after it, somebody can come up and be like really horrible to you, or a plane could crash in front of you, just be like, you know what I mean? Whatever. Yeah, and I think that's one of the things about like humanity today is, like, you know, our ancestors were, you know, busy, you know, getting chased off, you know, wild animals, and we had real problems. Like, you go to tribes in Africa and stuff, and you see, like, what do you think about identity politics? And they're just like, what? We've got busy things to deal with. Like, how are we going to hunt tonight's dinner and stuff like that? You know, like real problems, not the bullshit that we've got. This is the thing. Like, today we've got so much comfort. I tell you what, my studio, like, I lost my studio during lockdown. You know, the place shut down, and I had to move my studio back home, and it's in like what used to be the dining room, and literally in my studio I've got, like, you know, a nice big studio chair, and in the studio is the fridge for the house. I don't even need to stand up to eat. I just have to roll my seat back and like open the door. So, like, talk about real world problems. How am I, you know, that's when you're just going to be sitting making up problems. So yeah, I definitely of late have had a wee bit of troubling spot, but I feel like I'm coming at the other end of that. I'm getting back to the gym again, you know. I feel like I'm getting into shape. I'm throwing myself into my work. You know, I've had loads of really good shows lately in terms of gigs, and you know, the teaching's been going really well. You know, I've been able to bring in lots of friends who are also colleagues and stuff, so I'm like getting to choose who I want to work with, and I'm giving them opportunity, plus I'm able to inspire a kind of new generation, producers, artists, videographers, everything else, and that's just beautiful. So if I can't be happy about that, then I've got real problems, bruv.